started in child's pose. Just take your time arriving in the child's pose, and once you get there, take a little more time to come into your breath. Crucial first step to having a fully embodied practice. It's completely possible to practice with your mind on something else, with your self outside of your physical body. And that's almost the challenge that comes with more and more practice. Right? The more we do it, the more attuned our bodies get to these movements, these motions, these ideas. The easier it becomes for us to do that without conscious involvement. Just going through the motion. That way, even the more experienced practitioners meet more challenge. Watch your breath. Watch where it moves in the body, and notice how it feels. And when an inhale comes and you feel so moved to pull yourself forward into plank, go ahead and make that conscious decision to bring that movement into the body and work your way into a plank pose. And then same thing as when you arrived in child's pose, once your body has found that shape, see if you can occupy the space. And that doesn't necessarily mean analyze all the alignment and think through how to improve it, but just to be fully in your body, fully in your breath, to draw you close to the moment. Watch the breath. And when a down dog or when an out breath comes, pull the hips up and back to down dog. And let some weight drop back toward the heels. Let the soles of the feet stretch. Let the toes spread. So no autopilot. Really acknowledge how moving the heels a fraction of a millimeter might change the whole dynamic in the legs. Same thing with the shoulders, the head, the neck, the fingertips. What small little adjustments can you consciously make to transform the feeling of the pose? And then start to feel your feet walking forward on your mat, little teeny tiny steps. We're Working your way toward a forward fold at the top of your mat. Letting the feet land, hips width apart or maybe even a little bit wider tonight. Slowly peel yourself up, round through your spine to come up to stand. And go ahead and grab onto your hips. Take your hips in some clockwise circles. Try to just move from the pelvis there. Move from the hips. And then start to make those circles more about the waist. So the hips will still move with you, but feel the abdominals kind of churn to pull the belly forward and the waistline out to the side and back. And keep these circles going. Start to add some shoulders. So the shoulders ripple and dip. And maybe some arm movements help to pull you forward, back, side to side. And then reverse. Keep working the shoulders, the waist, the hips. So you're just waving through the spine, undulating in all directions. This whole center section of the body warming up. And then take the shoulders out of it, move through the waistline. And back down to just the hips. Try to keep the shoulders steady, the chest steady. Just circle the hips. And next time you circle the hips in, they press back behind you, pause. So you're kind of sticking your booty out behind you. And then pull your hip creases back, bend your knees more deeply, and start to lay your belly down on your thighs. Ragdoll forward fold in, the arms can release, the head can dangle down. So there's almost a chair pose in the legs. So you've got a shelf to perch on. If you have your elbows, go ahead and release your hands to the floor. Turn your toes out slightly on both feet and start to move toward Malasana squat. So very slowly letting the hips descend toward the heels and then maybe bringing the hands up to heart center, lengthen the spine. And then bow forward again. And as you do, spin on your heels to turn your toes to point forward, inner edges of your feet parallel, and hold. Do that again. Spin the toes out, drop the hips back, chest up, and fold. Inner thighs wrap toward one another, sits bones lift up away from the heels. And again, Malasana. And hands to the floor, forward fold. Hands on the mat, now step back to plank pose. Turn your chest forward and up. Grip with your finger pads. Take an inhale. As you exhale, hinge back towards child's pose, and you can hover your knees or let them drop. Just extend out long through the side ribs, through the outer edges of the arms, and then we'll spring forward into plank. Body long, collarbones open, chest forward, and do that again. Hinge back, maybe hover, maybe drop the knees, push into the palms, feel the belly scoop in, and then spring forward, plank. And one more time, back like that. Hinge back. Let that strength build, let that heat build. And then use all that to fly forward, open up across the collarbones, big breath in. Lower down to your belly as you breathe out. Tops of the feet meet the floor behind you. Bhujangasana, cobra pose. Inhale the chest up. And pause here. Shoulders down away from your ears. All the skin on the back body slides down toward the back of the hips. Pick your right leg up just an inch or two off of the mat. Keep it straight. And then start to roll onto your left side. Reach your right toes behind you until they touch the floor and push yourself up away from your mat and come to sit, turning toward the back of the mat. Let your right knee drop out to the side, like Janushrasana. And put your right hand on the floor behind you. Stargazer pose. Lift your hips up, let your left arm reach to the sky. And then drop the hips back down. Roll back down onto your belly. Catch yourself with your hands in cobra pose. So chest is lifted, shoulders back. And then reach your left leg up and back. Take your left foot behind you. Roll onto your right side and push the ground away. Snuggle the left foot into the right inner thigh. Left hand behind your back. Stargazer pose. Reach up with the right arm. Spin the right ribs open. And then set the hips back down to the floor. Roll right back into your cobra pose. One more inhale, chest up, shoulders back. And then push onto all fours, hands and knees, tabletop. And downward facing dog. Hips go high, heels sink low. So steady in the body, mindful movements. Become intricately involved in the mechanics as we start to flow. Right leg high, three leg dog, inhale. Knee into your chest and slide your shoulders over your wrists to plank as you exhale. Now, as you push your hips up and back, that right leg becomes a tree leg. So point your right knee out to the side and lift your hips up and back to down dog. Good. Come forward again and pull that knee through center into your chest. And then extend the right leg high, three leg dog, traditional three leg dog. Come forward again, knee to chest, shoulders over your wrists. Make that right knee spin out to the side and find a tree position with the legs and push your hips up and back to down dog. And then come forward, squeeze the inner thigh towards center, knee in toward your chest. Three leg dog, up and back. Two more times like that, nice and slow. Come forward. Tree, downward facing dog. Come forward. Squeeze the thigh up and then send the heel high. Last one, come forward. Tree pose, push the hips up and back and pause. So let the sole of the right foot be on either the meat of the left calf or maybe up into the inner thigh, but try not to push laterally on the knee. We'll keep this tree leg, keep opening the right knee out to the side and start to walk your hands back toward your standing foot. So you're in kind of a forward folded tree pose. Let all the weight drop down into that left leg and maybe put a little bend in the left knee, access more muscle. Bring your left hand to your hip. Right hand stays down on the ground to support you. And look way out in front of you toward the front edge of your mat. Then slowly start to come up into your tree pose. Reach your arms up overhead. Grab your left wrist with your right hand. And side bend to your right. Release that side bend, reach up tall. From the roots to the branches, feel that extension. And then reach down and grab that right knee, pull it into your chest. Stand up tall. Standing split. Let this right leg extend back behind you as you teeter-totter forward, hands to the floor. Take an inhale there and stretch the left hamstrings that just stabilized. Keep the right leg lifted as you walk the hands out to plank. Find the shoulders right over the wrists, the belly strong. Take an inhale. And just like we did before, pull that knee in toward the chest and step this time forward in between the hands. Drop your back knee down. Good. Hands come to the top thigh, climb the ladder, push the thigh bone away, lift the belly, lift the front ribs, and then reach the arms up by the ears. And imagine you've got something hooked onto the thumbs from the back body, and you're pulling the back body up as well, pulling the back ribs up. Exhale, take your hands down to meet the mat. Spin your back heel down and come up to warrior two. Deep bend stays in that front knee. Hug the inner thighs toward one another so you feel your feet squeeze together on the mat. And that front leg is just like the tree leg. So we're still externally rotating the right thigh bone and feeling that knee open out to the side. Take a couple more breaths. Come back to that full embodiment. Scan the body instead of staying stuck in one spot. See if you can bring everything into focus. We're not going to let this right leg change at all. We're just going to get a little buoyant in the back leg and move into chair pose. So maybe even start to push into the ball of that back foot. And then bring the left foot to meet the right, hands at heart center, Utkatasana. Inhale, spine, long lift the chest. Exhale, wrap your left elbow across to the right thigh and twist. Draw your left hip back in space. Unwind your twist. And step right back into warrior two. Left foot reaches back. Back heel lands. Feel the left hip open. Good, just an in-breath. And then in exhale, take your hands down to the mat. Frame your front foot. Right leg reaches high. Three-leg dog. Inhale. And step your right foot forward in between your hands as you exhale. Drop the back knee down. Left hand finds that left thigh. Right arm starts to peel up and open. Reverse lunge. Look down, hands frame the front foot again. Right leg high, left leg strong, so you scissor. And then step the right foot forward in between the hands. Drop the back knee down. This time, take your right hand to your left thigh back behind you, and then let the left arm come up. Cartwheel your two hands down. Frame your front foot. Right leg high again, three-leg dog. Squeeze through the glutes so that heel lifts even higher. This time we're going to cross our legs in down dog. So right leg crosses behind the left. Make an X with your legs. And maybe you center your feet a little bit more on the mat. Push your thigh bones up and back so that left thigh bone kind of gives an assist to the right thigh. And then hinge forward, keep the knees crossed, drop them to the mat and tabletop. Yeah, and then widen your feet apart and walk your hands back until you find a seat in Gomukhasana. Yeah, and adjust as you need to, maybe bringing the heels in close to the hips or manually working the knees to stack a little more closely. And then Find a tall spine. I had some pranayama planned for this pose, but that's pretty tricky to do with a mask on. So we'll focus on mask pranayama. Just watching that flow of breath in through the nostrils. And through the nose. Feeling it hit the upper palate, the back of the throat. Feeling that cool breath come in, trachea. Almost as though you could waft it, move all the way down into the lungs. Start to work forward again. So look out in front of you, push up off of the hips and come forward into that cross-legged tabletop. And then swing the feet closer to one another so they point back toward the back of the mat. Tuck your toes, lift your hips up and back to down dog. We'll stretch out of the sides of the waist here, stretch the pelvis up and back. Keep the legs crossed and move forward into plank pose, shoulders over your wrists. Now we're gonna do a little dance in the plank pose. So the left knee will pull in toward the chest and then step back behind the right leg. And then the right leg will do the same. It'll pivot out and around and step behind the left. And just keep moving like that. And you can exaggerate that motion with the hips and get a little stylish about it. I tried to come up with what type of dance this reminded me of, and I wasn't really sure. I noticed that the mind might wander to something other than the dance and the playfulness and the movement and the flow, and so you can bring it right back. Just have fun with it. And then dance your feet right into a traditional plank, hips width apart. Pull the chest forward and the neck long. Lower down to the floor. Cobra pose, inhale. Lift the right leg up a couple of inches off the mat. Start to lean onto the left side. Sit up, down your Shavasana legs. Right hand behind, left hand stretches up, open the chest. And drop back down. Spin around to Cobra pose. Left leg lifts. Reach it back behind as you roll to your right side. Push the ground away. Sole of the foot meets the inner thigh. And then push down into your left shin. Reach your right arm up. Hips back down. Cobra pose, center of your mat. One more time, inhale. And then push up and back to downward facing dog, exhale. Three-leg dog, left leg reaches high. Knee into the chest, pull forward into plank, and then transition into tree legs, and push the hips up and back, down dog. Good. Come forward, wrap that knee right to center, and then extend it high, three-leg dog. Good. Slide forward into plank position, hug the knee in, open it into tree, push up and back, dog tree pose. Come forward again, knee to chest. 3-leg dog. Inhale up and down. Even on 2 sides of the pelvis the whole time. Come forward. Yeah, now open that left knee out to the side. Push both hips up and back, both sides of the waist long. Come forward again, knee to chest. 3-leg dog. Reach it high from the belly, extend up and back. Good, and then come forward again, knee to chest. Open that left leg into the tree position and push the hips up and back. So you've got tree in your lower body, down dog in your upper body. Sole the left foot on the inner calf or inner thigh. And then start to walk your hands back toward your right toes. Little bend in your right knee. Left knee pointing straight out to the side, perpendicular to your mat. Bring your right hand to your right hip and stretch your spine forward like a halfway lift. Start to look forward through your gaze all the way off the front of the mat, and then slowly rise to your 2 toes. Arms can reach up overhead. Go ahead and grab your right wrist with your left hand and side stretch through that right seam of the body. Come back up through center. Both sides of that spinal line stretching up tall, arms extending. And then we'll pull the left knee into the chest. You can reach your hands down. Stretch that hip flexor, give it a little squeeze. Right into standing split. Kick the left leg high. Gently land the fingertips down. And then scissor the legs apart. Stretch through the hamstrings. Keep this right foot planted as you walk your hands forward, 3-leg plank. Pause once you get your shoulders over your wrists. Pull the belly up away from the mat, make more space, and then draw that left thigh bone forward and step left foot forward in between your hands. Drop your back knee down. That's our first low lunge, so we'll just start to climb the way up onto the top thigh first, and then push the arms to straight, lean the chest and shoulders back. From there, maybe the arms lift up. So the whole front body is pulled up into the pose. And then that conscious awareness that you can pull your back body up into the pose too, and it becomes more robust. Instead of just focus on a particular area or part of the body, everything is recruited, everything is involved. Exhale, take your hands to the mat. Spin your back heel down, preparing for warrior 2. And then cartwheel the arms open. And again, whenever we hold, we have time to arrive and then to settle in. To pull the front of the right hip back in space, but keep externally rotating the left thigh bone. Left knee. Actively press down and pull in towards center with the feet. You'll feel more muscle fire. Know that you're inviting the whole body into the practice. Make sure the breath is involved too. Keep this left leg exactly how it is. Prepare to move in the back leg. So before you go for it, notice what it would feel like to push the ground away, to get light on that back foot and be able to release it and step forward right into chair pose. Drop the hips down, lift the heart up, and then twist right elbow to the left side. Imagine a cane hooking around your right hip and pulling your right hip toward the back of the mat. And so then you just get a little more length between the right hip crease and the right armpit. And with that more length, yeah, you get more twist too. Sink the hips down a bit more, lift the chest up. And then we'll unwind back to center. Feel your left foot planted on the floor. Know that that's not going anywhere. The knee is staying right over the heel. And let's step the right foot back into warrior two. Spin the right side of the body open, spread your wings. Take an inhale. And then exhale, dial the hands down, frame your front foot. Take your left leg up and back, three-leg dog. Step your left foot forward as you exhale, right back into that low lunge. Drop your back knee. Right hand reaches down the trajectory of the right thigh. Left arm stretches up, so that left side body, especially here, opening, spanning the space between the ribs. And then cartwheel the hands down, frame your front foot. Fly the left leg high, inhale. Step the left foot forward again as you exhale. Back knee down. Twisting this time, left hand behind you, find your thigh, right arm, reach it up. Keep dropping your hips forward toward your front heel. Pull up out of the right side of the pelvis. Hands meet the mat one more time. Left leg up and back, inhale. Cross your legs in an X, left behind the right. And maybe walk your feet so they're more centered on your mat. And then these first few breaths, just use it, put a little bend in both of your knees. So you're not locking out at the knees, but you're pushing right thigh into the left thigh. And the hips drop up and back. Sides of the waist get longer. And some of that weight comes out of the arms and shoulders. And then we'll release the knees to the mat, tabletop, legs crossed. Separate your feet out to the wide edges and walk your hands back into Gomukhasana. And then situate yourself. To limit distraction. And to feel the full texture of the pose. Meaning the pose in this moment. If we do this practice in isolation from the rest of our lives, then it has less context, less meaning, less richness. If we pull it all together into a single stream of consciousness, the pose, the ability to sit in stillness, the ability to sit without judgment, that's the true practice. It's the gateway to pure consciousness, contentment, most advanced limbs of yoga. Concentration, meditation, enlightenment. Let's prepare to move forward again. Curl the hands out until you're back up on the knees. Hands shoulder width apart so that the collarbones can stretch wide, and then tuck your feet back behind you so they point back. Curl your toes under and lift your hips up and back to downward facing dog. And then just lengthen the body out into plank pose with these crossed legs. So there'll be a little bend in the knees. And we'll start to merengue. Take your left leg, wrap it out and around and then in front of the right. And then do that with the right, pull it out and around in front of the left. And so you just keep crossing and lacing and twining the legs in this symbol of infinity. Do your best to keep your shoulders over your wrists and to use your fingertips so that maybe you can even lift the heels of the hands up, the arches of the hands ever so slightly. The mind, the breath, the movement all become entwined. And then step it into plank pose. Separate the feet. Notice if the hips pitched up or the chest tucked back, lengthen everything out. Inhale. And exhale, lower to the floor. Bhujangasana, inhale. Let's go left side first this time. Lift the left leg, roll to the right, step behind, and then tuck the sole of the foot into the inner thigh. Left hand behind you, sweep the right arm across the body, lift up, and float back down. Roll onto the belly, shoulders stay lifted away from the fingertips, cobra pose. Right leg comes up, reaches behind, spin around. Right hand behind you, left arm up and over. Back down, come back to the cobra. Inhale here. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, right leg to the sky. Step the right foot forward in between the hands as you exhale. Warrior two, spin the back heel down, come right up into the pose. Wrap into eagle arms, left arm underneath the right. Yeah. Good. Let's keep the arms facing out to the side, so same direction as the chest. Draw the shoulder blades back. So they slide together like barn doors on the back. Now turn your chest, so you're just angling down to the inside of your front thigh. And take these eagle arms and slice through the air right there. Slice right past the inner thigh. We'll sweep the arms apart. Right arm comes underneath the right leg and right hand plants outside the right foot. Yeah, now you can put the left hand down underneath the left shoulder. And maybe walk your back foot in a little bit so you've got a little more leverage with that back leg. And see if you can work your right shoulder behind your right calf a little bit more. Good. And then look forward, lean into that leg and stay here if you like, just feel that out. Or maybe see if you can lift the heel on that front foot. Push the ground away. And maybe see if you can lift the toes, flex the foot. Good. And if you lift it up, set it back down. We're going to get a little closer to the ground now. Same position with the arms. Hands underneath the shoulders, right shoulder tucked behind the right calf. But we're going to get lower to the ground and make chaturanga arms. So bend the elbows 90 degrees. You can push into the ball of your back foot here too. Lean into your right leg and see if you can inch your right foot out off the front edge of your mat. Inch it forward. Inch it forward. Yeah. Maybe you inch it forward so much that it extends out. Yes. Good. And then bring it back. Set your left knee down. So good. We're going to swing the right leg back and open into modified side plank. So left knee stays down. Right arm reaches up. Right leg reaches to the back of the mat. If the right leg is lifted, set the foot down and push into the knife edge of that foot to lengthen out of the right side of the hip. And then gate pose. Stretch your right arm up, over to the right leg, and take the left arm up and over the ear. Okay, back to that side plank, left hand down, right hand high. Take the right arm over the ear. And then spin the right hand down to the mat, 2 knees down. Walk your hands in until you're standing on your shins. We'll take an Ustrasana camel pose. It can be with hands on the hips. It can be with hands interlaced behind you, or you can reach for the heels. Any variation that feels good, but make sure the rib cage stays lifted. And start to curl the heart up and the shoulders back. And then zoom out and notice what the thighs are doing. Push the thigh bones deeper into the earth. And notice what the toes are doing. Spread them. Let them hold you, balance you. Inhale, look forward. As you lift the upper part of the spine, drop the lower part of the spine. Tailbone heavy. And then hands return to the mat. Downward facing dog. Stretch your hips up and back. Thigh bones press up. And then left leg reaches, 3-leg dog. Step the left foot forward in between your hands. Good. And drop your, we did warrior 2, I'm sorry. Spin your back heel down and open up to warrior 2. Okay, so chest open to that right long edge of your mat. Let's take the right arm underneath the left for Garudasana, eagle arms. Shoulder blades wrap together and down. Elbows lift up. And then if you became so focused on what the arms were doing that you lost the warrior leg, come back to that. Keep firming the outside, the back of that left hip in. That's going to be your support system as we start to move through these next couple of poses. And it's there for you. We warmed it up, we primed it in those tree poses and downward facing dogs, and the standing splits and the knee pulls. Now start to turn your elbows, your chest toward the inside of your front thigh and slice down through space so that your shoulder comes to your inner left knee or inner left thigh. And then we'll start to release that left arm to the outside, wrap it under and outside of the left leg, right hand down under your shoulder. So use the whole sole of the right foot for this first variation. Square your chest forward and see if you can push down through the ground so much that you can lift your left heel, come high onto the toes of the left foot. And then maybe you can flex the foot and pull the toes up so everything's lifted, arms are straight. And set it back down. Nice job. Okay, spin onto the ball of the back foot. Reposition the left shoulder behind the left calf. And now know that you're going to be closer to the ground. Your face is going to be face to face with the floor, right? Bend your elbows 90 degrees like chaturanga, but keep your hips squeezing up toward the sky. Inch your left toes forward, forward, forward. Lengthen your hamstrings out. Reach forward with your left toes like you're going to do a split in the air, a flying leap. Yeah, keep those elbows bent like chaturanga so you've got a shelf. And then draw that left foot back in. Set the right knee down. Unwind the arms. Right hand and right knee stay down. Left side of the body, wings open. And you can come to let that left foot rest on the floor and even push into it. Feel the lengthening, the expansion of the fascia of that outer hip. Connective tissue that holds us all together and entwines all the individual pieces and parts of the body. Our safety net. Take the left arm up and reach it down the left leg, working in a lateral plane to gate pose. Right hand replants. The top of the mat, left arm stretches up and over the ear. Palm turns down toward the floor. And then start to spin the left hand down, square off to the front of the mat. Two knees down. Walk your hands back. Second round of Ustrasana camel pose. Same variation, different variation, up to you. Lift up through the chest. The whole ribcage rises. And then reach back. Shoulders tucked behind you. Push down into the shins and the tops of the feet. And start to lift the spine, lengthen the tailbone. And then this time we'll swing the heels out to one side and come to sit. Legs move out front. So walk your sits bones apart, just like we do in a standing forward fold where we lift and separate the sits bones. You can create that action seated here. And just pause in Dandasana for a moment. So again, integrating that really mindful, really conscious decision making as we move into Paschimottanasana. So coming out of the back bend into a forward fold can be quite challenging. So take the time to really lengthen and lift up out of the spine. Decompress the vertebrae. And then as you're ready, pad the hands forward, keeping all that length, all that lift. And stopping to pause anywhere along the way that you feel like needs a little more exploration, needs a little more breath, needs a little more understanding. Those moments of inquiry are very often where we find the doorway to the next step. Lift up tall as you come out of the pose, right back into that Dandasana. And then push your hands down into the mat and slide your hips toward your heels. Come down onto your backs. Walk your feet apart, separate them to the edges of your mat with your knees bent. And drop your knees over to the left. As we work those outer hips, it might feel nice to take your left foot and put it on top of your right thigh or your outer right knee. Add a little weight. Keep the legs crossed like you have them, and just bring them back up through center. And so you might walk that right foot in front of your hips a little bit more, like I did before. And let's take that, extend your right leg straight up to the sky, reach through the gateway of the left leg and find the back of the right leg. And pull that figure four a little closer to your chest. And then release the hands. Keep the legs up in the air and keep them in this shape. Take your hands behind your head now. Fingertips touch or lightly lace. Move the sole of your left foot to your right inner thigh like tree. And slowly as you can, lengthen the legs forward and down to the mat in the tree shape. Controlling with the core, flattening the belly toward the spine the entire time until the legs land. Land in that tree shape, allowing for full external rotation in the left hip. And then slide that left foot out to the left edge of the mat with a knee bent. And right foot to the right edge of the mat with a knee bent. Drop both of your knees over to the right. Spread through your upper back. And take the right ankle, stack it on top of the left thigh. Crossing of the legs, through the hips, through center, walk the left foot in, right in front of the body. And then figure four, extend the left leg up to the sky, upside down number 4. Reach the hands behind the left thigh, pull the lower body toward you. Keep the legs, but release the hands behind the head, elbows back wide. And then slide the sole of the right foot to the left inner thigh. And if you push the thigh into the foot and the foot into the thigh, you'll automatically start to turn on those lower abdominals that'll help you control the momentum forward as you lengthen the legs out onto the mat into tree pose. So left thigh bone really heavy, right knee really heavy. Let everything drop into the floor. That tree pose. Notice if you're holding the mouth in any particular position. If there's any tension around or behind the eye. Take the opportunity to fully rest into the mat that is given. We'll keep the right leg as it is in that tree shape. We'll bring the left leg out to the side so the soles of the feet meet. Supta Baddha Konasana. Notice what has to shift, what has to change to start to transition into Shavasana. So before you go on autopilot into the movement, just notice what you release, what you engage. entire approach and evolution of Shavasana. To move the body in a way that sets you up for total relaxation. And complete integration. Start to close the legs together like a book closing. And then draw the knees in toward the chest. Take some time to massage your back on the mat. Maybe holding behind the knees, and start to pump the legs, and rock yourself forward and back ever so small, ever so gently on the spine. Feeling the curve of the spine rock against the floor. Maybe those rocks get a little bit bigger. And eventually bringing all the way up to sit. Hands together in front of the heart. This practice is always an offering. Summon up what we're ready to give out to the world. So in a sense, the work is just beginning. Thank you. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.